Hello everyone, we are back and we are going to do our next piece of our, what am I even calling it? Oh my gosh, I could restart. Fleece to sweater. I think I'm calling it fleece to sweater. Then I considered changing it to fleece to cardigan because we're going to make a cardigan. But anyways, I have not made a ton of progress since the last video. It's been, holiday time and whatnot, but here is a summary of where I'm at. So we finalized the blend we're going to use, and this is kind of the color story of it. This swatch here, and this is probably the exact texture in stockinette that my cardigan's going to be. And then we started getting all mathy, where I decided to sit down and figure out a custom pattern for exactly what I'm envisioning. So these little buns here, and I've got like a whole basket of them, are the ones that I'm in the middle of spinning. So this is where I'm at so far. I haven't done much spinning. I have this one bobbin of singles, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job. If I hold this up against my handy dandy little control card I showed last time, I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of staying consistent to that one there, which is the single. And I'm doing it long draw, so it's a woolen spun, and it's a woolen prep. It's nice and lofty. I feel like I'm struggling with the alpaca a little bit, just in the sense that my alpaca, I think it's pretty short cuts, like the staple length on it is not very long. And it's not like a fuzzy alpaca so much as, like, it doesn't feel like roving. It's like hair. Anyways, so that's where I'm at. Once I finish these, that will be 100 grams. And my plan is to do 2 bobbins with 100 grams and then make sort of 200 grams of finished stuff, which should be hopefully somewhere between, what would be 200 grams would be somewhere between hopefully 500 and 800 yards. I don't think it's going to be 800, 500 and 700 maybe. And then we'll see where we're at. So I need to finish spinning this, but I'd like to prep one more batt. So I figured I'd do it at least partially here with you. I have a bag. I have like 3 bags full like this. You can see them maybe back here, that have all my little bundles. So when I was actually separating out my bundles, each one of these is going to become, oh my gosh, each one's not 100 grams. Each one of these, I was just about to totally lie to you. Each one of these is should be about a third of 100 grams. So it's 27. And then they're missing the alpaca. That one's 30. And this one is 31. Beautiful. So it's about 100 grams almost. So each one of these will become a batt of around 30 grams, plus it's going to have the alpaca in it, which I need to measure out. But I'll open one of these buns up in a second. I'm just going to get my alpaca out and make sure that we have that. So I talked about the alpaca a little bit. It's not roving. I got this right from a farm before I even knew what I was doing with fiber, and so I have a ton of it. And I scoured it myself. It was the first thing I ever tried to scour. And I really had no idea what I was doing. So that was like this long, drawn-out saga. But I feel good with where I landed on how washed it is and how it feels. I just find it a little bit challenging to spin compared to other stuff. So I'm glad I don't have a really heavy blend of it. I ended up with it being, oh my gosh, I gotta check my recipe here. 20 grams out of 100 grams. So it's 20% alpaca. So that means I need to weigh out 20 grams. I'm just going to tear this again because it's not at... Oh, maybe I don't even have enough in this little bag. Hang on, I've got a little bit more tucked over here. Oops! All my equipment's falling over, including like a light that I don't even use. Okay. There we go. That's pretty much 20 grams. So that should be good. And then I'll just Actually, I guess I'll weigh it into thirds. I love how I'm like basically avoiding needing to do this. So I'm going to go for about... But yeah, if anything I would have, if I were to redo this, I would have probably taken the alpaca down a notch just because I'm not getting the joy from spinning it as much as I have been the rest of the fiber, in my opinion. And I think it's because of just, I don't think this was a great fiber for me to select in the first place from that farm, but it was a happenstance. I hadn't even learned how to spin, and I came across and like, do you want it? But like some pieces are quite short. This is like probably an average piece, and I just find it a little bit tricky to work with. But that's neither here nor there. Ooh, this looks so junky compared to some of my normal ones. Okay, so each bun, what I ended up doing was I wanted to have, I'm on my drum carder, I can't put like a full 100 grams on it. It's too much. So I split each one into sort of thirds. And what I ended up doing with my fiber, for the parts of the fiber that I didn't have a lot of extra, I basically split it into 21 equal batches, which is 7 times 3. So that'd be like 700 grams total. And then I took that and then I kind of just filled out the rest around it. So each bundle here has been tied up with this comb top to keep it in a little bun. But it's this plus the alpaca, which really doesn't bundle in nicely and easily because it's so disconnected from each other. Okay. So this is that. I just totally lost my train of thought as usual. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to card up each of these separately. This is how I did the first one. So each bun will take one pile of alpaca and one bun of these mixed fibers, which again, you can go back in the playlist to see what they are. And then I make a batt from each with 2 passes. Was I doing 2? I might have been doing 3 just to get it nice and mixed. Then I was stripping that, and I'll do it on here. Stripping that into, because I have 3 of them, each batt into 3, and then grabbing a third from each and doing it once more just to make sure I'm not getting too much color variation. Because like in my swatches, I do have some color variation, which is fine, but like I'm going for basically a neutral. I've got a little bit of a stripe in this one, and this one was only, this was 3 passes total, or even maybe 2. So, and I can see it. I don't know if you can see it in the light, but I can see a stripe here, and I can see some stripes here, which I think mostly are from the CVM, which is this roving here from Artifacts of Appreciation, because that's the most sort of darkest color. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start with this pile here, and these ones can just stay off to the side. What I've been mostly doing is just trying to do everything in sort of a consistent order of operations. But what I try to do is I try to put some of the smoother stuff, like this is top, this is top, this is kind of top, and then put the fluffier stuff in the middle. So put these on the extremes. So I'm going to start with some of this. The nice thing is I haven't cleaned my carder, but I'm also doing the same blend, so I don't need to worry about it nearly as much. But yeah, I've been really enjoying what I would call the sandwich approach on my carder. I wasn't sure when I started carding things up, if you'll remember, which is pretty much all recorded on video and posted here in various forms. But some of my initial this to that videos were really, I was unsure about how much volume to put on here. It said you want to be able to see through it, which I think is true. But the sandwiches, what I like about the sandwiches is, I'm going to leave that one. It just feels like it's a little bit quicker, but also I feel like it kind of takes on a bunch at the same time. That's 2 ways of saying the same thing. But yeah, it feels better than just going really, really slowly. And I know I should have patience as I'm literally spinning yarn from scratch to make a sweater, which is probably the slowest thing you can do. Anyways, I feel like I'm doing a very bad job of chit-chatting while I card this up. These Hubbard locks are just my absolute favorite thing ever. I almost just bought some more, but I decided I really need to do some stash busting. I might have to do like a whole fiber stash busting year in 2025 because I feel like I have accumulated so many like special bits, but I really want to incorporate them into the actual projects because I am a process person much more than I am a someone who just spins for the sake of spinning. I want to try things, want to figure them out, see what different stuff does, and I want to actually use it. Not that there's anything wrong with not using it in your so many people spin just for the sake of spinning because they love the act of spinning, which I totally get, but I personally am someone who gets excited and I want to use it. The other thing I try to do is not put the alpaca as the top of the sandwich. Make sure I've got something over top of it, because it can get caught in the liquor drum a lot more because it's got so many second cuts. Although I do think it's positive if it gets stuck in there, like that's what you want because it means it's too small probably for the final batt. So I'm going to talk through one batt and then I'm going to come back when we're done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay some of this in, definitely with like a roving like this. I kind of like to just put it all in like so. I just feel like it goes in really nicely and adds a nice sort of layer into that batt. So we can start to see what we're building up here. But yeah, I'm like really anxious, and this is, I said I wanted to sort of try designing my own pattern because I really want to keep myself motivated, because spinning something like this that's kind of one color and having it just be all that's there, like it's less interesting on the spinning side. So I need something to motivate me, and I feel like having the wanting to actually cast on and see if my math that we talked about in the last video in this series makes sense, because it totally might not make any sense. Like, it's very possible it makes no sense at all. So that's keeping me going, although I just haven't had a lot of time lately, and I've got a little bit of travel coming up too. But it's really exciting. Like, I think it's really important to have something that motivates you. I'm actually going to put just a layer because I have a lot of this left. I'm going to do a even layer. The one thing that's important to me is making sure that I try to get it sort of consistently spread out, especially this color one, because this is really adding all that taupey neutral. So you can see after that one, that looks a little stripey. But we'll work that out in our second pass. And I feel pretty good about what I'm getting in place here. I also finished a knitting project that I was knitting for the last kind of month. It was my Frame Your Face cowl. So I just felt like doing it. It was an easy color work sort of thing for me to do while I was traveling on vacation. And I finished that up. And now I'm like, I really don't want to cast on anything else until I cast on this sweater, but I don't have enough of the spin done to cast on this sweater. Oh, that was probably a little too much in that sandwich. But long story short, I did end up casting on a pair of socks because it was Thanksgiving. Well, it is Thanksgiving weekend right now in Canada, and I needed a easy travel project, and I didn't want to bring spinning for that because I wanted to be able to do it in the car a little bit. So I did some kind of vanilla socks. I'm playing with what I want them to look like. I don't wear my knit socks that often because my feet run hot. So we'll see this winter. Maybe I'll get more into wearing the socks that I've knit. 'Cause I've knit probably half a dozen pairs. I just don't get around to wearing them very often. Okay. And there we go. We can see first pass. I'll try to get this on camera here. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Hopefully I'm not. If I do, sorry in advance. As I do not edit, we are low production value here. Okay. So here's first pass. Again, the color not really well blended. You can see it has some ashy areas, some really light areas. But all I've been doing from here, it becomes very quick to just split off some strips. And I pre-draft the strips and I run them through. And I try not to go too fast, but sometimes I can't help myself. So I'll show just a pre-draft. I might need to clean off my liquor after this 100-gram batch is done. But it takes me quite a while. It takes me, I would say, definitely over an hour, maybe an hour and a half to card up 100-gram batch, and then I strip it into these little buns and then spin it up. Oops, so I'm kind of going like across again to spread it out. And then the second one. Yeah, I definitely feel like alpaca wise, I wish I didn't have as much in the blend, but I've already started. I'm not going to change it now, because then I would have to get rid of what I've already spun. Not get rid of, but not use it. And I feel like I'm probably going to be teetering on the edge of having just enough to execute my full vision with the cardigan. But I know I'll have some options, so I could always option to do something different for the button band slash collar slash bottom ribbing slash pockets if I need to, if I run out. So I'll probably do part of the body, and then I'll probably do the sleeves, except for maybe the ribbing on the sleeves, just to make sure, and then I'll go for the length I want. And then I'll make the decision about all the other details. And that's kind of the fun part. We're gonna see how it goes. And who knows, I might end up scrapping this whole idea and using this to make a different sweater. Probably something with a pattern. But I feel like since I started thinking about the style that I was going for, I keep wishing I had this piece in my wardrobe. And like making sure I tell myself not to go out and try to shop for it, because that's not what I want to do. I want to make it. But it's tempting. Okay. So this is second pass. I wish I had written down whether or not I did a third pass last time. I do not think, and I remember I've asked Melly about this specifically, I do not think that there is such a thing as carding too much, like doing too many passes. And she agreed. So hopefully, as long as I communicated it properly. But her answer was basically, it's like brushing, it's like brushing hair. Like you're doing it several times, and then like the more you do it, it's not going to change your hair. It might change your tangles. Okay, so this looks pretty nice actually. I am pretty sure that I only need one more pass, which I'll do when I have all 3 of them done, and then I'll break each of these into a third, and then we'll get to one piece from each in case the color mix is a slightly different across them. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to pause and I will come back for the last part, which is when I have 3 of these done. We just did 1, I'll do 2 more, and then we'll do our pass to combine them together to end up with 3 batts that are a mix of all 3 bundles of fiber. Let's be nice and have me fold this in some sort of way. So, and smack the camera, of course. But there we go. This is our batt that we will turn into little buns like this, that then I will use to spin to start making the yarn for my sweater. See you in a bit. Okay, I'm back and I have my 3 batts. We can see them here. They're all quite similar. Obviously, that's the goal. But what I'm going to do is just split each of them into 3 so that I can make sure that there's a good distribution in case there's any variance sort of bundle to bundle. I'm going to do, actually, let me pick this up. Let's get organized here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then, again, it doesn't really matter to me the size of each, just because it's all just going to go into little buns and they're all going to go onto one bobbin together. I think I'm hitting my phone stand quite a bit here, so I apologize for that. What's important is having representation from each of the 3 batts in each section. So, and this part should be pretty quick. I won't do a whole thing. This is already probably long enough. Lots of me rambling. But I'm just going to try to open them up and feed it in directly just like this. Like that. Nice and thin. They say it's good if you can see through it. I definitely had some mixed results with that sandwich approach. Just because sometimes it would take too much up at once during my first pass. And then my second pass, I was really careful to make sure that it's just a good consistent amount. I want this to spread, so I want each strip to spread all the way across to really make sure I'm getting all the colors from each of the 3 mini batts spread across. So yeah, I'm just drafting out like this. Again, I'm no expert. I am just doing what feels right and seeing how it goes and learning along the way. And I just have been so obsessed with putting YouTube on my TV while I'm knitting or spinning and just like watching people's processes. I find it so fascinating, and I know not everyone will. Lots of people just want to see the end result. But I'm so into seeing processes, I figured I'd share some of mine in the hopes that people can share theirs, and then together we'll have a really good view on what lots of different people do. And also, hopefully I'll learn some stuff along the way. Alright, so this is the last one for this, because again, my drum carder only fits, like I can get 50 plus grams on there if I want to, but I find it works best kind of in that 25 to 40 gram range. And so I don't want to push it, so I'll end up with 3 little batts that are all around 35 grams. Beautiful. Alright. And then this should be a fully prepped with 3 passes, nicely blended batt. And it comes off, I would say by the time I do my third pass, it comes off really clean. I did clean my liquor twice while I was doing this sort of 100-gram batch, because there were just a lot of second cuts coming off of the alpaca specifically. All right, so here it is. Here is a finished one. It should look very similar to these, but if there were any sort of color variations from one bun to another, they should all be nicely blended in. So all I do is strip these vertically again into a small bit, probably something like this, and then make them into these little buns that end up looking like this. And then I spin them up into this, and then I'll ply them. So hopefully the next time we chat, I'll have some plied yarn finished to show you, and then I get to actually start testing out my custom pattern design, which you can find in the last video in this series. I can't remember what part we're at, but you get the idea. Thanks for hanging out, and hopefully to see you soon with the next part. And if you want to send me some positive vibes in the comments to keep me going and motivate me, send them all. I love hearing from you. Thanks so much. Bye.